Good morning in the US and good evening in China. My name is Ali Rahim. I'm the director of the Advanced Architectural Design program at the Weitzman School at the University of Pennsylvania. The AAD program is hosting a series of talks called Meet the Building Experts. There are 6 talks in total, as you all know by now. And they're usually held on Fridays, but Zhu-Pei could not make Friday, so it's on a Wednesday. And each presenter has been asked to really describe one project from the ideas, the concepts, to then its materialization. A real talk given by an expert. And as you've seen, the last 5 talks have done that in very varying ways. First of all, we had Scott Cohen, who really talked about geometry and its relationship to form. Then we had Nader Tehrani, who talked about the ceiling as the 6th elevation through 2 of his projects. And then Patrick Schumacher talked about Lisa Soho, which was actually quite interesting. I didn't know a lot of the restraints that they had to deal with in that project. And then we shifted to 3 talks by Chinese architects, so 2 of them that have happened. One was Xu Guo, who really talked about his research into 3D printing at the building scale, which I found fascinating. That has the potential of revolutionizing the construction industry. In addition, Rosanna Hu really delved into kind of a global development of China and its culture, and talked about one project in relation to that. And this evening, the last talk of the series, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Zhu-Pei. Zhu-Pei has been, I've met him a long time ago because one of my ex-students worked for him in Beijing. But in addition to that, we've run into each other at Harvard and other places he's been teaching at and I've been critiquing at. But what I want you to know a lot about Mr. Pei is that I've been following his profile closely since I first met him. And he launched his studio in Beijing, Studio Zhu-Pei, in 2005. And has become now an internationally recognized firm. The work of the firm is recognized for the development, again, I think, of geometry, but in a very different way than, say, Scott Cohen would take it on, and its relationship and integration into the urban and natural environments. And the contexts are crucial in his work. And I think the project he's going to describe to us this evening or this morning has really taken on these issues in a very particular way. Among the firm's most celebrated buildings are the Ningbo Jiangdong Catholic Church. Please forgive me on my pronunciation. The Wuhan University Wanlin Museum, the Minsheng Museum of Modern Art, the Shu County Culture and Art Center, the Yang Laping Performing Arts Center, which I curated into the exhibition in 2016 at the PWCC that Penn hosted, and the Jingjiazhen Imperial Kiln Museum in Jiangxi, which I think is the project that Zhu-Pei will describe for us today. In addition to his projects, you know, what's interesting about all the architects that we've had on is that they also really get these buildings into cultural venues. They have exhibitions on their work. And Zhu-Pei has had exhibitions all around the world, including at the Venice Biennale, the Sao Paulo Art Biennale, the Centre Pompidou Center, the V&A in London, Victoria and Albert Museum, and then Kassel, Dresden State Art Museum. There's so many others. Also, Harvard University has exhibited his work, as well as a modern art museum, in New York, which is very important because they have also collected his work. So the Museum of Modern Art has collected Zhu-Pei's work. In addition to that, his buildings have won awards. So now follow the train of thought. Do the buildings, have them published, win awards. He has won many awards, AIA On Awards, the AR Award for Architectural Review. In addition to that, he has been named one of 5 greatest architects under 50 by the Huffington Post, and has also won the very prestigious Design Vanguard Award, I think, which is probably still the most prestigious emerging architect award in the world. And also Hong Kong DFA has awarded him several awards, including the Grand Award. So Zhu-Pei has also taught at many institutions, in addition to Columbia University and Harvard University, and currently is the Dean of the Central Academy of Fine Arts School of Architecture in Beijing. And with that, I just again want to point out what an incredibly impressive portfolio of work, thought, and development of his practice. And it takes work to get to this level. And hence, it's a tremendous opportunity for all of us to meet Zhu-Pei. So please welcome me in, please join me in welcoming Zhu-Pei. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pei, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Professor Ali Rahim, for such kind of introduction. It is a great honor for me to be invited to give a talk today. My topic today is Root of the Mind, Rediscovery of Jingdezhen Contemporary. So today I'm going to focus on one project to, Imperial Kiln Museum in Jingdezhen. This is a view to this project from Imperial Kiln relic, the ruin part. In 2000, Jingdezhen is located in the southeast part of China. And
sorry, could you reshare your screen, Zhu-Pei? We're not seeing your screen at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, try sharing one more time.
Okay. Just a second.
There we go. We got it.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry. And this is a Imperial Kiln Museum located in the the historical area. This view from Imperial Kiln relic part. Today I'm going to focus on this project. Jingdezhen is located in southeast part of China. Used to be the capital porcelain. They has been produced the pottery for more than 1,700 years. In Ming and Qing dynasty, Jingdezhen export huge amount of porcelain to the Europe. Chai Ru Jun Ge Ding. This is, those 5 kilns is most important porcelain during the Song dynasty. They represent the highest achievement in Chinese porcelain history. All 5 kilns was located in north part of China. They was totally destroyed during the Mongolia invasion. Jingdezhen is somehow survived because, the location is pretty much south part of China. These 3 images and the one top left, which is Jingdezhen, the greenish white porcelain produced Song dynasty. During the Yuan dynasty, because of Gaolin soil was found in Jingdezhen, the white porcelain has been produced first time in human history. And around a similar time, the special blue clay was imported from Iran. Blue and white porcelain became the most popular porcelain during the Yuan dynasty. The right side is a small called Doucai chicken cup, which is produced in Ming Dynasty. Since then, Jingdezhen became to the Imperial Kiln for the Imperial family. The earlier, the settlement of the city developed around the kiln complex, which is including the kiln, workshop, and housing. So this image too showing the traditional the brick kiln. Probably they showing the mining kind. This is one kind of person. Normally they combine with housing, the workshop together. They became to the seal of the overall city. This is the Jingdezhen. The central area is the Ming Dynasty historical area. The city structure is developed along the Chang River from Song Dynasty. If we go bottom south, they're going to Song Dynasty and then going to Yuan Dynasty. This location is going, it's Ming Dynasty. Imperial Kiln is located in this area. Another phenomenon is quite interesting. Small alley always to perpendicular with the Chang River, which is this big river. But big shopping street, the combined commercial, a lot of activity goes south and the north. So this small alley is showing the very narrow, the roof overhead to provide shade during the summer. People normally is back and forth from their workshop and the kiln to the Chang River. So Jingdezhen is very, very hot in summer, cold in winter. So people have to survive under the shade during the summer. So you can see many small islands just crossing over, people just walking through, from their workshop to the river. So many the kiln ruin, even you can find out almost everywhere in the historical area. This is the Imperial ruin, the park. Another, surrounding this Imperial Kiln, a lot of private, the brick kiln ruin surrounding this area, Huangjiayao, Liujiayao, Lijiayao. This is quite interesting when I walk around the city, especially inside the historical area. You always find out a lot of, like traditional brick kiln. Sometimes they reconstruct because those kiln has been demolished around maybe 80 times, probably maximum 2 years they have to demolish. So this is one, the brick kiln, the works, the craftsmen work on that. So this is a construction site. I was fascinated about the way how they make this brick. They use very thin brick to create a kind of the special form, just cutting through the probably cutting made the horizontal layer. You can see this is the brick is kind of a thin light in order to they use special mud to hang on this brick. They build this brick cube without scaffolding, and they just by hand. So this is their very special the technique. So it's not like the normal what we understood how they build the arch. So this kiln is not only producing the porcelain, but also a lot of people going to guiding along this kiln area, especially when the winter season For example, some school is going to move to the adjacent to this the brick kiln in order to take advantage from this the warm the kiln. And also a lot of social activity happen. A lot of people work on the many things. Also, the small case, sometimes they just take one break, put in school bag. They can spend, they can keep warm whole day long. This is their traditional housing and the workshop in central area. A lot of recycled brick. They use those brick to build their housing, even cover on the street. Like what I mentioned before, since this brick kiln that has been demolished almost 2 years, 80 times. So this is their tradition. They use recycled the kiln brick to build the housing. This is the location of the Imperial Kiln Museum. That's the adjacent to the Imperial Park. So this is like a Imperial Ruin Park, surrounding a lot of historical the housing. And if you go beyond, you're going to see the factory, maybe the early of this century, a lot of social housing nearby. So surrounding this area actually have very rich the urban fabric. So this is this shop took after this museum has been done. We look from the southeast to beyond. This is the Chang River. But you can imagine if you go back to like 200 years ago, a lot of people just walk through this small alley, go to this Chang River in order to they transport their porcelain, to the boat. They also bring back porcelain clay, the wood, and so on, in order to they can make their porcelain in brick kiln. So this is in general the Jingdezhen, more like lifestyle. But another interesting for this area, which is those houses always have small vertical courtyard. They have huge overhang, small alley, in order to probably one of the reason this climate is so hot. They have to, everybody have to stay inside, shading, protect from the rain, and so on. I think this is intelligent idea. Actually, they gave me a lot of inspiration. So early for concept, the idea came to my mind is just, how I can catch up the sense of their brick kiln. Things are going to, our project is Imperial Kiln Museum. So this is an initial sketch to indicate what I thought. I tried to use this arched brick kiln, the structure, to create a kind of a new museum idea. So this is a preliminary idea, since we have many conceptual solution. This is one of the idea we try very hard to try to minimize the volume above ground. So this is our final solution, final concept for this museum. Through this the model, you can get sense this museum somehow try to get in small scale as much as possible in order to have a good relationship with surrounding, like traditional housing, the factory. And so this scale, the one way they pretty much close to the traditional brick kiln in terms of scale. I just show you before. Not the secondly, they also try to, to interlace it with a very rich urban fabric. This is in terms the relationship or urban fabric, the solution. We have another big idea, which is I try very hard to try to make this design more sustainable. Also, this idea may came from traditional the housing adjacent this area. This is like arched brick, the kiln layout from south north in order to catch up the summer, the wind, since the wind orientation from south. So one, basically you can see one tunnel by another is more like a wind tunnel, just wind can penetrate whole buildings from the south to the north. And we also create the 5 vertical courtyard, which is a sunken courtyard, more like 5 chimney to bring air from the bottom to the top. Cool air can be getting, vertically. So this is a horizontal tunnel and the vertical courtyard. They make a very interesting 3-dimensional the wind installation. I consider this is more like a wind installation. Even for today, the summer, we don't need to use the cooling system, air conditioning. So this is the first try to, try to use passive, the energy idea to, to apply to this contemporary architecture. Right, this is another the concept model. Through the design process or studio, we try very hard to, not try to everything rely on the computer. I encourage my staff, to use the hand making the model instead of, the computer. So we build a lot the models through the small scale to the bigger. But this piece was collected by the MoMA, definitely. So this is I use porcelain to produce the local. It's more like or represent our concept. You can see this building is kind of laid out very freedom in order to dialogue with surrounding things. Our site is so irregular. This is in general the big scale the model which is cutting by the hand. I talked to my the staff. We try to avoid to use 3D print. 3D printer can be print everything, but we have to somehow find a way to make this the museum, into the system. Things if you look at this model, they arched the structure, not only difference in size, but also difference in curvature. Is no one is same, but how you can develop a system to realize them. So we, during the conceptual design process, if we use hand, can be making this model, I go into confident to we can find a way to build this museum as well. So this is like the major foyer and the lobby for the museum. So this is 2 arch. One is open arch, another more enclosed. This is like the coffee, tea, book store. This is a auditorium. They have a separate, they have an independent entrance. You can, independent use things they push on the pretty much boundary. So when people come to this museum, and then you can go, this is another open the arch to content exhibition the porcelain and also integrate some ruin we found out after construction. So this is somehow we make huge effort to redo the design to integrate this ruin into our design. So, and then you go into this is more like a gallery. This part we have office entrance here and the loading, the dock, the truck can be back into this arch and load some stuff. We also have a temporary exhibition entrance. So this is like a lobby, the entrance area. So temporary and permanent, sometimes they can combine together, sometimes they can independent. We also have 5 vertical courtyard. You can see we have 5. Those courtyards, integrate the overall museum. So this is the process, what we have done through this model made by hand. This is set plan. You can get a sense in terms of scale, the fabric. This is a ruin Imperial Kiln. The people going to walk through the ruin park, go underneath the green canopy, and then flow past this bridge, past this water, and then you get foyer of this museum. If you go left side, you can start your exhibition journey, from interior, exterior again. So this museum try to maximize the experience. People, try to integrate nature, not only just the view surrounding, but also we try to combine with the wind, like everything, try to integrate this artificial museum with surrounding nature, neighborhood. So this is in general our idea. So this is the photo showing, I'm standing here, the party secretary of the city and mayor, things that I was told after construction, they found out now the ruin, which is Ming Dynasty. We are facing the tough judgment. If we try to keep this ruin, we're going to be huge delayed the construction. But definitely the city want to quickly move on. But I feel this is going to be so much valuable if we can including this ruin into our museum. So we, like what I said before, actually we redo the whole design. That's also proof my provision when I work on the concept design. I try to use the arched structure to instead of like a big box or whole volume object. This is under construction. From the big challenge for this museum is how we built based on the one system. So this is a scaffolding, which is we work with some manufacturer and contractor to develop some I call mobile and moving the scaffolding. They can freely readjust their the size in order to achieve this curvature, double curving arch. This arch structure actually make up from the concrete pour on site, with 2 layers of masonry brick. So this is a recycled brick, like what I mentioned before. They have more than 1,000 years tradition. This city, they use recycled kiln brick. This kiln brick, after demolished, you can see this is no longer whole piece of brick, but they have to use new brick mixed with this old brick. This brick is so interesting. You can see there's so much each brick, they have a glazed local people called Yao Han. It's a kind of, since this the brick has burning many times. So this is our the construction, the workshop, the craftsmen, they work on the masonry, the masonry wall. So construction, you can see we have, actually we have no high technology, just very normal construction methods. The special thing, which is I call mobile scaffolding, they build on the one track, they can slide from the one end to another in order to always to change their ratio to achieve this kind of curvature things, like a kiln. The art structure is a difference in curvature, different size, everything difference. In the beginning, nobody believed we can realize this museum, since so much complicated. But actually, after we have this mobile scaffolding system, we feel this is pretty much easy. We just use the system to build everything. So this is after this museum realized this is we still not finished in terms of landscape, but it is pretty much open to the public in terms of this architecture. September 19, we have very successful art show happened in this museum. Xu Bing, Xu Jianguo, Liu Xiaodong, and my work. Actually, it's 4 artists. The work try to dialogue with traditional porcelain art to work with, this kind of a museum. So this museum, not only we organized the art, the exhibition during the construction. Actually, some meeting is happen on site. A lot of people, we organized a lot of the conference during the construction, the period. So this is another shot. Actually, this is a incomplete moment. This is not 100% complete. You can see this water garden is not finished, landscape not finished. But we are, use very natural the material like a concrete brick, the water, the grill is going the bamboo and as well to try to catch up the sense is local the environment. If you go suburbia of Jingdezhen, you since they have a lot of hill, bamboo, the creek, they produce the sound. It always is, when we since we use a lot of water sounds, the grill when you work on the produce kind of interesting the sound. You also saw a lot of rich break. When you close up, you're going to see the new and the old break. They interlace it more like a fabric to to form this this arch. So this is like a water garden. I call. I use a lot of the stone. Most of the stone actually is underneath the water surface, more like a group, like a school of the fish swimming. Some fish, they pop out the back. So they also kind of Zen garden is like a early Chinese garden. They call the one water, 3 island, or island inside ocean, and so on. So you can pretty much feel the Chinese nature philosophy idea. So this is exactly what I really want to integrate this garden, like Chinese philosophy into the contemporary architecture. So you you can feel the richness of not only the material, but also the sense is contemporary, maybe Western or Chinese or, kind of natural or nature philosophy and so on. So I try to somehow not just totally new or not old. So most of the things, even the feeling or people, the sense you feel were complicated, simple system, but a complicated experience. So this is another the view to shooting the, one end of this museum to dialogue surrounding the neighborhood and the factory. So this is a horizontal cut we did for the lecture hall. If you see that lecture hall, you're going to walk through from here through the water reflection, see beyond the Imperial, the Kiln ruin. So this is somehow to more represent my goal. I like this photo since I feel so much symbolicity with some the poetic, very rough, the material to combine some idea is kind of local, but also have with ambition, contemporary ambition together. So this is a surrounding neighborhood. If sometimes the people have a surprise when you walk on the surrounding neighborhood. See, you never realize you're going to see this like a new museum just actually not far from you, because this museum is only 8 meters tall. So you're going to experience more like Chinese architecture experience. You see nothing until you close this museum. You're going to have surprise. So this is a major foyer for this museum. So I'm standing on the maybe south end to look at the north. So like what I mentioned before, this is each arch like wind tunnel. In both ends is open. Sometimes curtain wall, the wood curtain wall, but we have a lot of wood panel. They can automatically open, which is create a kind of a wind tunnel. In order to achieve, I call the intelligent, sustainable the idea. So you can see this door, this wood panel, you can control, how much you want to open, how much wind you can, bring in. So this is you're going to see the beyond neighborhood. This is when you walk in. If you see this small arch, actually it's bringing to the cafe, the bookstore, and the tea house area. So you can see this is arch. You see another the arch and in other one. So basically they dialogue each other, but they slightly have a different orientation and angle, slightly have a different curvature and size. One end, when you walk out, you're going to have some surprise. You're going to see the sunken courtyard with bamboo, see beyond beautiful the landscape and the historical the courtyard house. So this is when you walk in, you're going to see this interior, and then when you walk this glass door, you're going to experience a actually only covered outdoor space. A lot of like overhang. Those ideas inspired by the local the house idea, since they have huge overhead to protect their vertical courtyard. Even summer, they still cool, very cooling. Water going to drop in right inside of the courtyard. Probably you guys know Huizhou. The Huizhou, the residential is one of the beautiful typology for the Chinese central south area house. The Jingdezhen used to be Huizhou, and the Alice mentioned the Shouxian, that's my project, culture and art center, which is also not too far from this region. So this is an open art. This is I really want to use this space to generate this the building somehow like a sponge. It's not like a solid object. It's clear interior and the exterior. So this is when you walk from the cafe area, you're going to looking north. You're going to see the water, sunken courtyard, beyond lecture hall, water garden, and urban housing, and so on. So you feel even you're under the shade, but you feel even the summer, you feel very cool, the cold wind going to concentrate here. So this is a sunken courtyard. You can see the underneath the many like 5 courtyard in different size. This is a horizontal cut. It's another idea. Since when you walk into this tea area, the people going attend to the sit down on the floor with the tea, more like kind of the Japanese or Tang Dynasty Chinese style. You can sit in very low type table drinking the tea. Since and then see through the water, and then the beyond the Imperial Ruin Park. The ruin always talking about underneath the soil, so like people to focus, and also is horizontal. The reason I always emphasize tea, the Jingdezhen area, not only the porcelain, not only the porcelain make them very famous, but even when back Tang Dynasty, this region produced one of the best Chinese tea, like like a Tang Dynasty poetry, Beijing Yu talking about some the poetry explain the business people is shopping, they doing the tea business. Very famous. Even today, the local tea became to the, so popular. So currently, I teach with Ram Koolhaas is together in Kappa Studio. We work on the, suburbia Jingdezhen, just focus on the many village, like 4 village, the central business. Even today, the people farming the business mainly is a tea business. So this is like a tea space, like I mentioned before. So this is when you from the foyer to go north, and then you're going to see small arch. This arch roughly small. You're going to see the corridor. Between this corridor have stair bring people down, and then foyer of the lecture hall. This is a lecture hall. It's more like a the one of a traditional kiln sense of along with contemporary the like lighting idea. For example, this is a horizontal cut I mentioned before, right? Front of the water, people even sitting here, if a speaker talking about not very interesting, at least we can enjoy the beautiful nature. Definitely, this some people criticize this is not good for the people to concentrate. But sometimes I just criticize this. If you speak something not interesting, nobody really wants to listen. More like joking, right? We challenge about what that's like a typical thought. Why lecture hall is not open to the nature? So for the top of the skylight, this is also inspired by the brick kiln, which is they make a lot of opening. They watch the color of the fire. They know, okay, this is maybe 1,200 degrees, or this is 1,030 degrees. So this through this hole, they watch the color of the fire inside of this kiln. They know exactly the temperature. Things that we have no the modern technology during the Song Dynasty. So when people walk into the, when you start your journey from the foyer of this museum, you're going to pass series like this is the moment. This is like another open arch. When you look at this, the beyond actually is this is a ruin we found out after construction. So this is we work on the permanent exhibition now. We're going to install very soon, almost there. This is also the exhibition gallery, since this is personally not art museum. So this is you can see this the curving surface make a huge tension. You feel so much interest in this architecture. You feel you try to attach, many orientation. They're going to have a difference, the feeling. Once again, this is like a vernal again, right? In the summer, you're going to have a beautiful, the cooling installation. This is from the other end, looking back. In the middle is a ruin relic park. You can see this is somehow it's like 1.5 meters long. So this is like amphitheater in order to, and then right side we also have the opening door to bring people to the to the Sunken Plaza. You can see this is arch, many open arch integrate in between the interior exterior. So this is at one level. When you walk into another the arch structure, the stair going to bring people down. You're going to see the courtyard. This is our stair is not like a typical staircase. We just found out between the two arches. You can see this is quite interesting. The material going to give you some inspiration, or you want to touch, you're going to see the glazed, the natural light. So this is stair, people actually walk down to here and then go to the downstairs. So even the concrete, the local is the climate is very difficult to make this concrete pour on site. Many times I always wake up by the phone call. Things when they pour the concrete, certainly they have, like a big thunderstorm, and then this concrete going to became to more like Chinese painting now. It's quite interesting. It's a very natural way. They recording the local, the climate, the raining hot, and so on. So this is from the what I mentioned. People going to walk up, walking down. It's like a flow, like music, right? So you always feel the surprise waiting for you. You're going to explore. You're going to the wandering inside of museum. This is one big courtyard, which is the biggest courtyard, surrounding by the temporary gallery, and this temporary, it's concrete, very rough wood. So this is another courtyard, which is bring the people down or up. You're going to see the museum people work on the fix the porcelain, traditional porcelain with bamboo. So the museum is even if you go underneath the basement, you also feel the lighting. Natural light always light up both ends of a gallery. So, and then you're going to walk out. You're going to explore some a lot of maybe public space on the top, and some people fix on the traditional person. You're going to see their museum people real working the atmosphere. So this is getting late. During the night, the neighborhood going to a lot of people singing piano, but the bamboo create a kind of sound. You feel very local. It's very, you know, Pacific. But this museum is so unique. You not feel this is a traditional. You also feel somehow you know this museum. You know things local people, everybody know kiln break. But you know, this is you know, somehow reflecting the Chinese the artistic thinking. You know, we create a kind of things between new and old, between familiar and unfamiliar, and in order the people going to engage. You know, you bring the people to engage, to explore. You know, you're always to attract by something. Another idea, I really, maybe this is based on my understanding, I always try to make this architecture more like a sponge, or more like incomplete in terms of geometry. More like, or when we look at or sky, right? The moon, when you half moon, you always expect it became the full moon. I think those moments more like the architecture. Architecture, you have to, you know, it itself should be supposed incomplete. Once they combine with activity, with people, with nature, with wind, with sun, or with everything, and then they're going to become to the complete. More like Chinese painting. When you look at the Chinese painting, it's not a lot, you know, blank. Actually, it's not blank. They actually give you a lot of imagination. They bring you to engage their composition or their idea. So this is exactly maybe through the concept to the end, we are actually we're struggling many things, but be honest, this is the one vision project. Myself and my team working very hard, especially we spend a lot of time on the site. We think about how we can recreate the experience among the people, kiln, traditional kiln, and the porcelain. This is I consider this is like the blood relationship. Is we try to recreate this you know, the experience. The root and the innovation is more like a both dynamic force to carry out through the whole design process. So this is pretty much what I try to explain the idea behind this design. So
it's really terrific.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Very clear and thorough description of your project. And what better project to show at Penn than a brick-driven project, you know, with the history of Khan, etc. I'm really mesmerized because you took us through this incredible journey, you know, of the history of porcelain to the history of some of the dynasties, the Ming Dynasty, the Sung Dynasty, you know, and then coming across the Imperial Kiln. And I just really love the way you kind of describe not only the materialization of the kiln itself with the narrow bricks and the fineness, but then how you take that on and sort of make it a contemporary museum, right? So you bridge artifacts of history, but then you leave your architecture, as you said, you wanted to feel a little incomplete. And that relationship between the object, the original historic object, and the final product is one that taps into contemporary culture with the idea of sort of catalyzing kind of these experiences within this museum, which is not at all a traditional museum as you describe. So I find that relationship fantastic. And I want to come back to that and discuss that with you. But in addition to that, I just find, I love the way you describe how you build these physical models and how meticulous you are. This is fantastic for students to understand. Look, at a certain point, technology is what it is, right? And so even if they 3D print pieces of this, it would have to be in finer pieces so that they can assemble it much like the fineness of the brick. You can't just do one form because you're moving sort of construction manifold. I think is a brilliant idea that kind of came out of your design process in order to construct it. So the way you're controlling the curvatures, the way you're mixing these finenesses of brick to become fabric-like as you describe them. I also really like the edge of the fabric. If you think about the edge of fabric, you usually have stitching or you have something to hold pieces together, and you've finished these sort of vaults and these beautifully detailed edges, right? And then you've cut, I mean, I really appreciate those moments. And then when you've cut these horizontal slots, they also actually contribute to an incredible experience through the project. But what I also what I find fascinating is everything that you've taken up, sort of passive systems of cooling, energy, right? Also sort of this idea of, there's this one moment in your project which I found incredibly moving. It's sort of where the arches come together, but you have slots between the arch to allow light through. I mean, what does that look like in plan? Because how do you get that effect with the light coming through it? So it's as if you built it in pieces. Even the arches are broken into finer pieces and not only the overall form. And the way you describe sort of connecting the old housing typology to this kind of museum with the gridded condition. And then the water, I think, plays a large role, where you just flooded it. You flooded the grid system of the residential to then contribute to this incredible atmosphere that you're walking around is different than when you're walking through and along these bridges. So what a great project. And thank you very much for sharing. I do want to talk to you a little bit because all your work is based, you do a lot of museums, right? And I think this is a great project to kind of hinge our discussion off of. And I'm kind of wondering, so what are your thoughts on bridging, say, the history of the porcelain object with contemporary culture? I mean, how do you think about that relationship, where not only are you tapping, hundreds of years of Chinese history and culture, but you're kind of projecting it towards the future. So where do you think, where are your thoughts when you're designing with relationship to the past and the future?
Mm-hmm. So, I strongly believe the not only the architecture but also art. I feel great art and architecture always have a special the root and innovation idea. They working together. It's not one way. It's not just just only have the root, or think about a traditional solution, or another is just bring idea, like a UFO, whatever is. So I feel, for example, like people dialogue. When we not speak one language, for example, if we if you're from the universe, the people, we cannot speak each other since we're hard to communicate. We have no way to engage your thinking, right? And then I walk away. But in other way, if you know, you just like me, exactly. We think the same. We don't need to speak with you since we are the same. But actually, it's good things. We can communicate, but we are different. We share the something, but we can inspire, we can exchange. I think architecture is hard to become to the, you know, like a universal the idea. So they somehow to articulate either culture or their tradition or lifestyle or their climate. So I strongly believe we need to rediscover those things, and then you create a new experience. I think the nature of architecture is an innovation. You have to create something new, but this is a new is not just the visual, or the architecture is not visual art. It's the experience is new. It's not like not looks like new. Actually, experience is the difference. I also inspired a lot of artists' work. For example, like uh, like uh, Anish Kapoor or Anson Giffer, or even you know a lot of people use very normal, you know, like daily things, you know, basically all the material or all the thing he described, you pretty much can feel familiar. But actually, after they recreate something, you know, like you feel surprised. You never thought this way. I think architecture is the same thing. Is somehow, you know, Pacific. Somehow you have to rediscover their culture route or climate route to work with your innovation idea.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Zhu-Pei, I just want to jump in and just say thank you. I'm
you.
the chair of architecture, Winke de Bolam, and I really enjoyed your talk. I mean, your work is amazing. And I know you're a very, very busy person. So I want to thank Ali for organizing it, which thank you, Ali, and for you doing that, because we realize how important an architect you are. And I hope at some point you'll come and join us in person at Penn when we're all in a better state, right?
That's going to be a great moment because, you know, face to face. Yeah, I'm looking forward to,
Yeah. No, we all do. And I have to hop out because we're in the middle of review week, but thank you. I just wanted to quickly thank you and say good evening to the students. But yeah, I hope to see you very soon in person. And again, thank you so much. It's gorgeous. I love your project. I thought what was really amazing, I just had to interview Peter Eisenman, and it was very interesting because he talked about something which was non-zeitgeist. And what he meant with that is kind of that architecture is more, is spanning from history to far future almost, you know, and that there is kind of a shift in time that should be almost non-linear or not linear, but really exactly as what you're saying about invention and tracing and finding new ways. So yeah, very interesting to hear your argument against his.
Thank you. Thank you. Your comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll hop out.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just, so to continue kind of this whole discussion, look, I should also say to the panelists as well as people who are just listening, you're most welcome to type in questions for Mr. Pei, and if you'd like him to answer them, I'm willing to be the in-between. So please do go ahead and type questions that you may have. I do want to, you know, just delve on this a little bit in that your sort of the way you think about, you know, like you just said now, it's art, it's objects, it's culture, it's contemporary, it's a way of thinking about things. But the way you take on these projects from one project to another project the materialization or the way things are actually developed for each project is distinctly unique and different. So my question stems around how do you, I mean, you solve the technical and the technological issues per project. So just for the students, do you come across, you don't have a predetermined idea of how to take this on. So how do you come about, for example, developing this methodology of constructing this museum with regards to that moving scaffolding? Like, how did that happen? Does that happen in all your projects? How do you come across these issues? What comes first? You know, this would be really helpful for just students to understand what you're thinking about as you make these decisions and how they come about and how they then eventually manifest into the built form.
Yeah, things. My practice in China, things China is such, big territory. Sometimes when you build in tropical area, maybe next week you fly to the very cold desert or northwest area. For example, currently I'm working on the heritage museum in the far northwest. Is for the a prehistory, the ruin museum. So basically, in terms of the climate, the region culture is so much different. It's really hard to use one thing to, one solution to resolve the design issue. But you can use one idea, one thinking, or I call one philosophy. This philosophy, even doesn't matter where the build, but I strongly believe architecture needed to reflect the local climate and the culture. This is what I'm never change. Definitely innovation, right? Like I mentioned, create a new experience. This is like a two dynamic force for me, never change. So for example, this is like a south central area in China, pretty much hot in summer. So sort of a tropical, you have to make the building lighter, it's more like a sponge and you have to think about ventilation. And but in cold area, you're going to the philosophy never change. You want to rediscover their culture root or climate root, and then going to make. If you follow this idea, you're going to make the design very differently in terms, maybe I'm talking about the form or material reality or solution, maybe very, very differently. But actually behind this, the form or actual idea never changes. Things you want to create your architecture associates, local climate, culture roots, and the same moment you want to create something new. This is
This is great because this is, what's, I'm fascinated by your description because the sponge can be so malleable in a funny way, right? You can, it's got an overall idea, right? But none of your work looks like a sponge, which is important for the students to also understand, right? But it's about taking all the capacities of how the performance of a sponge operates and then thinking about these problems in a unique way for that site, for that local context, but using a conceptual framework that allows you to move the project forward in your own way, making it a Zhu-Pei project and not a someone else project, right? So this is, it's an important idea. Like you have a theoretical project, right? And that project is multifaceted, and that those facets get expanded or contracted depending on how they operate within a particular local context and how you think of each project. As you described, the context is so different in China, right? You can go from the center of Shanghai to rural villages and everywhere in between with you know, a very cold climate to very hot temperate climate, right? I mean, the range is the world. So that's why I also find it fascinating that you've got such an interesting framework to test your ideas against. And you know, if students can understand that there's a theoretical project that you're really trying to excavate, then that will also get more and more intricate as you move through your development as an architect, because you learn off of how you've done it in the past and you make it better the next time, right? So I find that really, really fantastic. There's a question that is really, it's based on details in this project, particularly. So how were you inspired to sort of use, say, or reveal the beam where you cut a slot, or the fineness of the edge that I've already described? Was there a driver, or does this also get put back into kind of the logic of the sponge, for example? How did you make those particular decisions for this project?
I think how you can combine the complexity and the symbolicity together. I just feel architecture is not that easy to explain. For example, like when you look at this photo, things the many issue actually behind this design. The first of all, like if we're talking about the climate, right? We have to lay out, you know, this axis south-north in order to wind can be concentrated your building. You're going to naturally to take advantage from the arch structure to use solid wall to against east sun. So I think this is a kind of decision making going to let you convince you, okay, this architecture going to make sense. But in other way, you really want to break up this symbolicity, because the west side is going, west side is the imperial ruin relic part. It's open field. So somehow you need a dialogue with them. So this is the reason I feel horizontal cut going to be keep low in order to block the sun. Things that the sunset on this way, but you have somehow to block the sun, and then you can comfortable to see through your, crossing over, when you see this horizontal, the open field. Sort of logic, sort of, sometimes it's more unconsciously you feel, okay, somehow I want to see something, but I need a blocked sun. And, I don't know, for example, like this horizontal cut for this lecture hall, I'm struggling many times. The first of all, I feel I need to open something, but I don't like the white sun to concentrate into this lecture hall. And then I give up. I feel maybe, that's going to interrupt the people's concentration. But, after the study model is show up, almost construction or even construction on the basement, I change my mind. I want to, go back. I feel when every day my work back and forth, my studio, I saw the preliminary, the model, which is almost, we try to root out the model almost falling apart. But I still realized that actually first, the sense, first idea, maybe it's great. And then I just brought back. So you know, sometimes hard, you know, to you feel this is 100% right, or you feel this is wrong. But you know, for the architects, you know, every moment, every day, every project, it's most of a challenge is to make a decision making, to make a right judgment.
Of course.
You know, this is for example, like even the brake. You know, why I use brake, why I not use something else, material, more contemporary. So always like everything is a judgment. Everything is how you can, you know, to make right thing, or maybe wrong thing, or many wrong thing combined became to right thing, or many right thing. Everything is right, going to be wrong. So this is it's hard, yeah.
Yeah, you know, but the two things I want to discuss that you just brought up. One, you know, this overall organization, right? I mean, this also takes an eye. You're not going to tell me it's purely functional, right? Like the way the compression, the length of each one of these, I mean, the way they're organized, it produces a really interesting tension between the buildings, the grid, and the site, right? There's something kind of the way you slide one over the edge, right? The bottom one on the bottom, sort of the northeast side of this slide is now on top of the actual walk. I mean, there's some really beautiful, just really overall organizational moves here that also I think are based on your eye, your judgment, your design skills, right? So so I think that it is also important. I mean, you're a very good architect, so you can control this very well. The other thing I just want to talk a little bit about is your kind of your decision making on that auditorium that you brought up. I find that auditorium, it reminds me of one auditorium I've actually lectured in that it reminds me of is Taliesin West, Frank Lloyd Wright's auditorium. I'm sure you've lectured there as well. But what's interesting about that auditorium, instead of it's your experience is monastic, you know, you feel, I mean, you want a preacher there telling you how to live your life. You know, you need you need a mental coach or something. You can't have a lecture about, you know, contemporary painter or something. You know, it just seems like you need preaching. You don't want, you know what I mean? You need a preacher, not a lecturer, right? That's how I felt in Frank Lloyd Wright's auditorium, because instead of it being like yours, which is incredibly beautiful, Frank just put red everywhere, right? And then the sun behind the lecturer, it also looked very monastic, but in a different way. It relied on this plushness in color with light behind the speaker, as if, again, you're being elevated to a different level, speaking to the auditorium. But what I find more interesting is that Frank used to lecture there to his students. So I guess he designed it for that reason. So I find your lecture hall really stunning. I mean, it is one of those things that I would be intimidated to lecture in that space because it is so stunning. I do find it fascinating. Okay, so I have a question here from Ariel. He is talking a lot about kind of the openings, the horizontal brick that we've discussed, the cladding and the edges. He says that they reference Chinese arch bridges. Is this true? And is the combination of the vertical expression of the brick and its combination with the edges somehow playing to this idea of the old, the new, the universal, local technique? You know, it's sort of, is this kind of how you're getting this combination of the past, the future, local combination. Ariel's got a good eye. He looks at a lot of architecture and he teaches theory at Penn. So it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on this question.
Okay. I'm not totally, understood the,
well, maybe I should just read this question.
Yeah, maybe we'll summarize again for me.
Okay, so the arrangement of the brick vertically expresses that it is not a traditional brick.
Way, right? Yeah.
Concrete is revealed in some openings, but the horizontal brick cladding at the edges seem to reference old Chinese arch bridges.
Okay.
Is this the hint of a combination of the old, new, universal, local techniques?
Yeah. So since I showed the video, right, I talk when local craftsmen to use brick to build the kiln, and I think the mentality. They are thinking actually exactly like when we work on computer, the method, how we to use two-dimensional curving to achieve the three-dimensional the object. I think we have to cutting through many layers. So actually one technique break is one layer cut. So probably, like a potato, right? When we're cutting, through the millions piece, this complicated surface becomes very simple, like a tube, just like a curving line. So I think local people, in order to achieve this kind of egg surface, they just use very thin the break vertically to one layer. Each layer they go into different ratio in order to they achieved this curvature from the small into the bigger radius from the bigger or small. So they just use their finger to control 1 inch by another inch. Only when the break vertically, you can achieve this curvature smoothly. But if you use horizontal, misery, the break way, you never can achieve this. You're going to have like a terrace stepping. Yeah, so this, I just feel maybe like just mention the Peter Eisenman, explain his idea, right? Even this is a very old traditional way they build the brick kiln. Actually, they have, more like modern sense, like computer, the way. Yeah, so definitely, in order to achieve some opening things, the arch structure always, you only can open both ends. You cannot open the horizontally. We have to use column or big beam or 2 ends of concrete to, to support this arch.
Yeah, I think that's it's good. Ariel just corrected me, telling me that he teaches building envelopes and construction and overall expression. So it's right to the point of his question, actually. But, it's been a fascinating hour and a half, and I've really enjoyed every minute of it. So if there are more, let's just take one more question and see. Okay, sorry. So this is a student who's asking about kind of the overall form, like the organization that I just was talking about, and the tension and its relationship to the fineness. So what is a kind of, is there a correct mix for you to develop your sponge idea, sort of, because it seems like the overall organization has a more plasticity to it, but then the fineness of the detail contrasts against it. So do these two scales contribute to this project for sure, but is this how you think about all your work or only this project?
The student question is things that can you repeat
overall
again?
Organization. So the overall form,
Okay.
overall form of this museum,
Okay.
versus the detail. So the relationship between the two extremes, the overall scale versus the detail scale, the combination of this carries through all your work or only in this project?
Almost every work, things, you know, architecture is, I consider is a very special art. It's more like urban art, like London art. So you have to think about relationship with surrounding the urban condition or rural, you know, nature. Everything thinks your scale such big. But architecture always associates people's body, and then you have to carry out, you know, bring the big the form and idea into the small scale, you know, the detail close to the human scale.
Right.
I feel, yeah. So this is you have to really to carry on everything into the detail, or the building feel. You know, a lot of architecture, when you look at the photo, is good, but when you know be inside, you're going to feel somehow it's very boring or very rough. Things, not only construction rough. You know, sometimes it's not construction rough. I just feel it's construction way or detail or tectonic not right. So this is the reason I feel the both the overall solution and the detail should be consistently to working together, and then you can make great work.
That's a terrific answer, Professor Zhu-Pei. Thank you very much for your time. I'm just going to wrap up and
Thank you.
say that I really enjoyed that 1.5 hours with you, and your presentation was very, very interesting. And I love the way you just took us through the entire process and really, you really showed us what it takes to become a building expert. So thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to seeing you very soon as this pandemic is over.
Yeah, everybody, you know, hopefully we have, we can see each other very soon. Yes. Yeah, I also appreciate your invitation, you know, to share my idea, my working experience with a student, with, you know, your colleague. This is such a great moment. I really appreciate everybody's time.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's really been a pleasure and an honor. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Have a good day. Thank you. Bye.